Hello, I'm Rewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. A new scandal is unfolding in Russia after school children staged a military-style performance inside a church in Moscow, during which they were dancing, nothing wrong with that, but also pointing mock weapons towards icons and people during the act. What we see is being presented as patriotic education, but in practice, it kind of normalizes violence in a religious space and blurs the line between worship and militarized propaganda. Public reaction has been sharply critical, with many Russians pointing out the double standard when compared to the harsh sentences handed down in the past for far less aggressive performances inside churches. I mean, anyone remember Pussy Riot? The 2012 punk prayer, Mother of God, Drive Putin Away, performed at a church too, landed them an actual sentence, later suspended, but anyway. Now, despite the outrage, Russian authorities and church officials have so far avoided calling the incident a violation, once again exposing how the rules change when the spectacle serves the state narrative. The message is simple: if Putin worshippers do it, it's not a crime. Ever had issues with micromanagement? You know, the moment your boss walks in and wants to be in charge of literally everything, from text formatting to schedule to whatever minute details your particular line of work happens to involve. Well, in that case, you would absolutely hate to be a serviceman in the Belarusian army. Want to know why? Well, check it out.
Ну, радости немного, давай так откровенно говорить. Стреляют, видят мишени. Ну, вы зря настилы эти положили. Он же с бронежилетом, ему неудобно стрелять. И на поле боя кто ему будет настилы эти класть? Ему легче было бы со снега стрелять. Он лег, бронежилет этот провалился в снег, ему удобно. А так он, бедный, мечется на этом настиле. Ну, будем считать, что так себе. Ну, может быть, это ж мы же не видели. Посчитай, посмотри, доложишь мне.
Стрельба только началась, сегодня первый день.
Да, пускай готовятся.
Все объективно.
Оцениваться будут подразделения.
Волнуются, конечно, президент стоит за спиной. Я понимаю, что волнение определенное есть. Ну, так на так. Где-то попали, где-то промахнулись. Так что
Все понятно.
пускай работают дальше. Мы посмотрим, как ему жизнь усложнить. Мы тебе усложнять будем сейчас жизнь. Так что не расслабляйся.
Все время в напряжении.
Ну, а с комбатом, конечно, шкуру будем по-мужски драть. Всего доброго.
You heard the man. Let's assume it's so-so. Missed opportunity to move with the times and say it's 6-7. by the way. Maybe he thought this could actually spread, and troops in combat situations would frantically shout 6-7 like a bunch of teenagers and give away their position. After all, when in the classroom, you don't need to worry about counter-battery fire. But back to our micromanagement enthusiast. He's clearly all about the hands-on approach, and something of an old-school warlord too, mingling with ordinary troops before marching into battle, or at least this is the impression we're supposed to get. Now, before you start fantasizing about Lukashenko charging into the thick of the fray while possibly shouting 6-7 at his own soldiers, let's do a reality check. He might have a point about those pieces of plywood. I mean, unless they're some kind of improvised sleds, I don't know why they're even there in the first place. Your guess is as good as mine. Imagine a realistic combat scenario when troops have the time to carry huge, conspicuous pieces of plywood to the front line for personal comfort. I mean, these guys are up there planking like it's 2011 all over again. The Belarusian army is a strange place indeed. Lukashenko said there is little joy to behold, but I'm sure you'll agree that there is an abundance of unintentional military comedy, a bit like Tropic Thunder with snow. But if you thought we're done with Lukashenko today, you're wrong. You see, the man's had a rough week. Apart from taking flack from us for being the misunderstood military genius that he is, he was also slapped with sanctions by Ukraine. You can almost hear him shouting, "What did I do? What did I do?" Thing is, he actually did quite a lot to deserve that, facilitating Russian attacks on Ukraine, placing Oreshnik launchers in Belarus, and all that. But in his own mind, he might as well think he's the good guy in this story. He is most certainly not. But to calm his nerves, he decided to give a lecture on politics and territory. Here it goes.
Рынок, он все отрегулирует. Да это не надо, то не надо, это плохо работает, давайте бросим, будем заниматься другим. Ничего мы не бросили, терпели и сегодня поняли. Никакой рынок ничего не регулирует. Кинул глаз на север, Гренландия, богатая и прочее, никем не занятая. Давай ее сюда. Даже Канада, одна из крупнейших стран мира, 51-м штатом должна быть. Венесуэла, схватили президента чего? Какой картель? Какие наркотики? Нефть. И я благодарен президенту США, что он открыто это делает. Мы теперь поняли, куда нас тащили, но через либеральные какие-то принципы нас убеждали в том, что мы должны действовать так, а не иначе. Мы как-то терпели, выдержали. Понимаем, что делать, куда идти. Надеяться надо только на себя. Не надо ни на кого рассчитывать. 5-й раз говорю, нет у нас друзей в мире. Нет. Самые лучшие друзья, как минимум, это наши конкуренты.
We have no friends in the world. I'm sure sad boy Lukashenko wasn't on your 2026 bingo card. But the dictator's outrage is kind of amusing, considering how his criticism of Trump's foreign policy lands perfectly if applied to Vladimir Putin instead. I mean, unjustified aggression? Check. Attacking others under false pretenses? Check. Thing is, this little geopolitical sub-story might not sit well with Putin. After all, if Belarus says it has no friends at all, then Moscow could see this as a sign of ingratitude, even if the relationship here is more like that between a large snake, meaning Russia, and its prey, Belarus, the latter having been swallowed whole and now being slowly digested. Not sure if Trump would embrace the criticism either, although he did invite the Belarusian strongman into his Middle East format earlier on. Perhaps he'd be open to hear about the brilliant findings the Belarusians made about the use of plywood in combat situations. Piece of board meets the board of peace. Not even asking you to excuse the pun. I know I'm already beyond redemption. And with this, we conclude this episode of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news, updates, and commentary.